1997. A free kick from way out, the shot seems possible, but almost pointless. Roberto Carlos steps up. The ball flies like it's going wide, and then, at the last second, the trajectory bends. Nobody can figure out how it happened. Moments like this are what made him a legend. He always took the paths that seemed impossible, and that's why he was always ahead of everyone else. He wasn't tall, just stocky, but the moment he got going, the whole stadium held its breath. Roberto Carlos didn't just play on the left. He did things defenders weren't expected to do. He took risks and never backed down. This is the story of one man who expanded the limits of his position and made football look completely different. Imagine a small town called Garça in Brazil, where on April 10th, 1973, a boy was born with an unusual dream. That boy was Roberto Carlos. His family wasn't rich, and he grew up on ordinary Brazilian streets and courtyards. From a very young age, football wasn't just a game for him. It was a chance to change his life. As a teenager, Roberto joined the youth system of União São João. Back then, nobody could have guessed this kid would become a legend. But by 1992, he was already showing his class. Powerful, energetic, fast, with a wild passion for attack, even from the back line. In 1993, Palmeiras noticed him, and that was his first real step into big-time football. Under coach Vanderlei Luxemburgo, he became not just a player, but a true driving force for the team, helping the club win titles. He won the Brazilian Championship in 1994, but more importantly, this was when he started showing his unique style. Even at a young age, he could already amaze the crowd with his left-footed shots, his forward runs, and incredible speed. His ability to suddenly appear in the opponent's box and take a shot made him a threat from any position on the left flank. In 1995, Roberto moved to Italy, to Inter Milan. On paper, it seemed like the step to the top. He was only 22. Back then, Inter was a club full of big ambitions and just as much chaos. Big money, big stars, and a goal: to reclaim past glory at any cost. And into that whirlwind arrives a lean left back with insane speed and a shot that wasn't legendary yet, but was already terrifying. At first, it seems like everything's going smoothly. Roberto Carlos is playing regularly, scoring, joining attacks in ways defenders in Italy barely dared back then. He's not afraid to push forward, not afraid to take risks. But then the real challenge begins. Inter's coach, Roy Hodgson, sees him not just as a fullback. He experiments with Roberto Carlos higher up the pitch, sometimes almost as a winger, and other times limits his forward runs. In mid-90s Italian football, discipline and tactics mattered more than freedom. And Roberto Carlos, he was freedom in its purest form. Gradually, tension builds between the player and the coach. Not a scandal, nothing like that. Just a feeling that they're speaking different football languages. Carlos wants to run, shoot, attack. Hodgson wants structure and control. And then comes a moment that Roberto Carlos himself would later call a turning point. A match against Vicenza. Roberto Carlos steps onto the pitch, but during the game, the coach decides to substitute him. Not because of an injury, it was a tactical move. For the young Brazilian, it was a signal. He wasn't trusted the way he felt he could play. In the end, the 1995-96 season became Roberto Carlos's only season at Inter. He played around 30 matches across all competitions and scored 7 goals, which is solid for a defender. And then, in 1996, the dream that millions of footballers around the world aspire to came true. A move to Real Madrid. His first year in Madrid. He's 23, and right away he proves something huge. A left back can be more than just defense. He can be the engine of the attack. Brazilian speed, fearlessness, an unreal shot. All of it explodes on the pitch at the Santiago Bernabeu. At first, people watch in disbelief. What is a defender doing sprinting like that in the opponent's half? And he just grabs the ball, takes off, and smashes it so hard the goalkeepers are left in shock. Even today, when they show the replay of that famous goal against Real Valladolid from a completely insane angle, you can't help but be amazed. The ball flies like it has a mind of its own, bending in midair, cheating physics itself. But if we're talking about the moment that made Roberto Carlos a name every football fan on the planet knew, there's one scene you just can't skip. It was a free kick for Brazil in 1997 against France. The ball took off as if it broke the laws of nature. curving through the air and leaving everyone watching in total shock. And then came the 1998 Champions League final against Juventus. He lets fly, the ball rebounds to Predrag Mijatovic, and he scores. Real Madrid go on to win the Champions League. In the 1999 to 2000 season, Real Madrid win the Champions League again, beating Valencia 3-0 in the final. With every new year, Roberto Carlos becomes more than just a Real Madrid player. He turns into a symbol of a new kind of football. He's playing in the era of the Galacticos: Zidane, Figo, Beckham. His understanding with Zidane creates combinations that often decide Champions League matches. Remember the final in Glasgow against Bayer? Carlos makes the bursting run, plays the pass, and Zidane finishes it with that legendary goal. Summer of 2002. South Korea and Japan welcome the football world, and Roberto Carlos is ready for one of the brightest tournaments of his career. As always, he's on the left flank, full of energy, power, and that unstoppable desire to attack. The group stage starts with a match against Turkey, a real test. The Turks play boldly, Brazil look a bit nervous, but then Ronaldo scores, Rivaldo converts the penalty, and it ends 2-1. Next up is China, and this is where Roberto Carlos leaves his mark forever. A free kick. Powerful, perfect. The ball smashes straight into the corner. Then Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, and it's 4-0. Everything is going smoothly, and the team can almost feel the gold medal within reach. The group stage ends in style. Brazil against Costa Rica, 5-2. Then it's the knockout rounds. In the round of 16 against Belgium, things get serious. It's a tight physical match. Rivaldo scores first, Ronaldo makes it 2, and Brazil move on to the quarterfinals, where they face England. Out on the pitch, it's a classic battle. The English defend hard, but Roberto Carlos is flying down the left side, tearing past defenders, kick-starting attacks, opening space for Rivaldo and Ronaldinho. In the end, Brazil win 2-1. In the semi-finals, Brazil face Turkey again, the same team they already beat in the group stage. Ronaldo scores the only goal, and just like that, they're into the final against Germany. Roberto Carlos on the left flank is the engine of the whole team. Second half, 2 goals from Ronaldo. And Brazil claimed their 5th World Cup. Every move Carlos makes helps create those moments. Victory, triumph, a nation celebrating. After winning the 2002 World Cup, he heads to Monaco for the UEFA Super Cup against Feyenoord. And once again, Roberto Carlos is right at the center of it all. He's named man of the match as Real Madrid win 3-1. In the Ballon d'Or voting, Roberto Carlos finished second, losing out only to his fellow Brazilian Ronaldo, who had also won the World Cup and scored 8 goals at the tournament. Just think about it. The football world usually favors strikers who rack up goal after goal. And here's Roberto, a left back from Real Madrid, standing on the podium with the best players in Europe. He collected 145 points in the voting and took second place in the world. That's a symbol of how highly people valued his influence on the game. Later, Carlos joked that Ronaldo had stolen the trophy from him, but he always added one thing. For a defender, finishing second was a huge honor, proof that he had changed forever how the world looks at the role of a fullback. In the 2002 to 2003 season, he played around 37 matches, scored 5 goals, and delivered 7 assists. Numbers that perfectly show how involved he was, not just in finishing attacks, but in creating chances for his teammates. Real Madrid went on to win La Liga in the 2002 to 2003 season, and Carlos's impact wasn't only in goals, but in all those moments where he shattered the opponent's defensive plans right on the edge of his own box. When people talk about Roberto Carlos, they usually mention his shot and his speed. But the real key thing often gets missed. He wasn't just fast and powerful, he played at the very highest level for more than a decade, year after year. At Real Madrid, he made 527 appearances in all competitions, scored 68 goals, and became one of the most prolific defenders in the club's history. During his time in Madrid, Carlos won 4 La Liga titles, 3 UEFA Champions Leagues, 2 Intercontinental Cups. After leaving Spain, Carlos didn't retire. He found a new stage for his football creativity. In June 2007, he signed with the Turkish club Fenerbahce, agreeing to a 3-year contract. Here's a cool detail. At that time, he also had offers from Chelsea, and the talks even went pretty far. There was reportedly a meeting in Paris, but for different reasons, the move never happened, and Turkey became his next destination. In Turkey, he brought his experience, became one of the team leaders, and that famous left foot of his was still giving defenders serious problems. After Turkey, Roberto Carlos decided to return home, to where it all began. In 2010, he signed with the Brazilian club Corinthians, and while this wasn't Real Madrid with its incredible pressure and fame, he was welcomed like family, with respect and love. However, his time at Corinthians wasn't easy. The team got knocked out of the Copa Libertadores in 2011, and as a result, he even received threats from some fans, a serious test for a star of his magnitude. Because of this, he ended up terminating his contract by mutual agreement. In 2011, Roberto Carlos signed with Anji Makachkala. The move made headlines. The contract was set for 2 years. Yes, physically, he wasn't as lightning fast as in his prime, but he didn't need to be. This period became a natural closing chapter of his playing career. Calm, deliberate, where respect for his past and his experience allowed him to remain a valuable player and a role model for younger players. In 2012, Roberto Carlos officially retired from playing, but football didn't let him go completely. He began exploring coaching, worked as a player coach in India, trained young players, and continued to stay involved in the sport as a Real Madrid ambassador. When we look back at Roberto Carlos's career, it becomes clear. His journey isn't just about goals, Champions Leagues, and titles. It's the story of a man who changed the way the world thinks a defender should play, leaving an everlasting mark on football. From his first bursts down the left flank at the Bernabeu to that famous second place in the 2002 Ballon d'Or, he proved that a defender can be a creator, a leader, and an inspiration. And when we watch the old footage, his runs, shots, passes, we understand. True legends never really leave. They live on in every moment of the game, in every inspired young player, and in the hearts of those who witness their magic firsthand.